on those games. That's what I stem from. Hi, CJ.
There's CJ, the painkiller in from Weapons Hot Mission Briefs. Good evening, CJ. We're talking about we already talked about a lifetime ban of Tucupita Marcano. I say it enough, maybe I'll get it 100% right. We talked about that quickly, and then we're talking about the A's wanting to play 10% of their games away from Las Vegas when they eventually get there. CJ, let me have your opinions on both. I mean, you're banned for life. That's the rule. He's a grown man. He made a decision. He decided to gamble. The rules right there in the clubhouse. No betting on baseball. Period. There's no exception. There's no well, if you do, if you do it a certain amount of times, it just says no betting. Period. And the A's deciding before they even get there to play 10% away from the ballpark. What do you think?
Well, first thing on the betting issue, I said this a few weeks back that something like this was going to happen. And how were any of the professional sports going to deal with it? So baseball is kind of taking the right approach, where I think that the other four major sports should also take a look at it as well and make a determination whether or not, if betting ends up happening in their sport by players, that this is something that's definitely looked at, because it's only going to be a matter of time. We're seeing players do it. How do we not know that referees are doing it? How do we not know that officials are doing it? What's going to be the tipping point? Or are we just going to continue to just turn a blind eye and say, well, the sports is generating so much revenue off of this? How do we stop it because we're too busy trying to line our pockets? Well, then you pretty much blur the lines of competitive balance, because that's going to alter somebody's thought process in regards to depending on how much money they have bet on the game. Now, I'm going to leave that alone for a second, and I'll talk about the A's moving to Vegas and potentially playing 10% of games there. I personally think that's a bad idea for right now. And I think if the A's are going to make if the A's are going to make a move, you rip the Band-Aid off and you make the move once and for all. All of this garbage about, oh, well, I'm going to go and we're moving out of this city, so we're going to play 10% or 15% in our new stadium because this is where we're going to be based. No, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. If you're going to move your franchise, move it and get it over with. Don't subject your fans to have to buy a plane ticket to basically go play a home game that's away.
That makes sense. And what you said the first thing. What you said in the first thing about the betting, CJ, is it's all about integrity, right? Why am I going to watch? What am I going to watch a game for if it's fake? If it's not real? If the outcome is going to be determined because of amount of betting on one team, and if the players are participating in this, are they going to play hard? If they're betting against their own team, are they? That's probably the biggest problem with betting in baseball. Hi to Huddle Sports Network. We'll be on there, and I'll get it right this Sunday. Great network that we just became a part of on Sunday mornings with our big football show. And with integrity in baseball, one of our best baseball commentators is underneath. I'm going to bring him up. And Keith, of course, we're talking about the ban for life. And Keith Engel from TGI Sports. How you doing, Keith?
Good, guys. How are you?
So, Keith, I know you heard part of it. As you were underneath, we all made our feelings known. Some of us are hard, a couple of us are hard, a couple of us are not as hard. But what are your thoughts? I mean, if they allowed this to happen and didn't do what they said they were going to do and ban the person, and it's like I said, it's there. It's everybody knows in baseball, for at least if you bet on baseball, period, you're banned. Is it too hard? Or not hard enough? I mean, that's hard enough, I guess.
But it's right there in every locker room, and it's not too hard. It's the rules. But my biggest problem is the hypocrisy that baseball and all the sports have, is that we're going to enforce these rules as we should, at the same time as you're in bed with the people that they're doing business with, and that bothers me much as what these guys did themselves. So there's a lot of blame to go around here in Major League Baseball, and it's not just them; it's all sports. I mean, you can't go to a commercial without seeing a commercial for a sports betting site during a sporting event today. And the players are going to do what they're going to do, and this type of thing. My guess is this is the tip of the iceberg. I think there'll be a lot more of this to come, and they had to do what they did. Especially when you're betting on your
James,
bet on your own team.
James and Sonia brought up a point. If it's a superstar, right? We saw what happened to Ohtani, what could have happened. If it's a superstar of that caliber, are they gonna ban him for life? I mean, are you gonna take somebody like a Ohtani or a Mookie Betts or an Aaron Judge and say, guess what? You bet, you're out. Is that gonna happen, you think, Keith?
The all-time leader in hits is not in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose is banned for life. There's no bigger name in baseball. I mean, again, as big as any name. Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame and banned from the game and has been for decades. And I can see it happening. You cannot play favorites. And if they get found out that they do, then this will make it even worse.
And this is where I agree with you, Keith, in that regard. You can't play favorites, but where I believe it's going to differ, because ultimately these players are commodities. They're big money draws. So they're going to figure out ways to get them out of it. And this could be the case with Ohtani. I mean, they're going to figure out a way to try to get them out of the situation. I mean, because they can't risk their investments, losing their out on their investments. I mean, it's a big deal. And I don't think these major corporations in league, that's what they are. I mean, let's not twist anything about it. These leagues, the NBA, NFL, MLBs, they're major conglomerates, and so they're going to always be about the bigger picture here. And they're not about morality. They don't care if anybody's gambling or anything like that. It's more about control. What you're doing, like whoever the player was that was banned, I'm sorry. You're changing our control. You're changing how we do things. And so I don't know, is he any good? Is he a great player? Or?
No, not even close.
And that's why I don't think they hesitated to even let him go. I think, and as you look at the Ohtani situation, we can say that, hey, he's stupid and didn't know that the guy was was taking his money out. Or we could say he did know, and there were some loopholes to try to get him out of there, and just deny it. And now we see the guy, the whole story is closed now because he pleaded guilty, right?
Well, until something else new pops up, it's closed, right? And you're right.
Right.
They cannot practice collective judgment, or they'll risk the integrity of the sport, and people won't trust what they're watching on their TVs or in the stands.
But it's like I'm saying, if there's one, there's more.
This
is, like you said, the tip of the iceberg. And like I was saying before, you and CJ came on, I don't know if you heard it or not, but I feel like it's the era we're living in. This has been going on for a long time. Let's be clear. The only thing now is the exposure, the social media platforms, able to track money in a better, more efficient way. There's more, electronic evidence of what's going on. And because of the growth of technology across the board, that's why we're finding out. But this has been going on. Let's be clear. This has been going on for years, eons, probably as long as the sport has been here. And it just was not emphasized or brought to the light.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, listen, it's not the local bookie at the bar anymore. It's a lot easier to track. Baseball news. We'll finish off with the two best teams records, I should say, in baseball right now: the Yanks and the Phillies. The Phillies, they have the highest scoring offense and the best starting ERA right now in the Major League history. So the Phillies playing really good ball. The Yanks sweeping the awards. Judge getting Player of the Month. Lewis Heel getting Pitcher of the Month, and Soto getting Player of the Week. These two teams, I don't know when they're going to match up during the regular season, but it should be a very interesting series. And I don't know who will win it, but I know it'll be a great one as opposed to the Mets and the Red Sox, if you know what I'm saying, CJ. You know, so the Mets and the Red Sox, I don't think anybody's really going to be that interested in. But the Phillies and the Yankees, I think there'll be a lot of interest in that series when they do play this year.
Without a doubt, Mets and the Red Sox fans probably won't even care about that series. But
It's not 1986 anymore. Nobody cares.
that's the broken. That's a broken
No,
windshield.
it's not.
That's a broken windshield series. That's when you leave 2 tickets on your dashboard and go back to get them in your windshield smash, and there's 4 tickets there instead.
Yep.
Right. I never heard that one. That's a good one, Keith. All right. So NFL news. Okay, NFL news. Wide receiver Justin Jefferson becomes the highest paid non-quarterback, making a 4-year, $140 million. I think it's $110 million guaranteed, if I'm not mistaken. Me and Jack got a huge debate about this of who was more valuable. Is CeeDee Lamb, CeeDee Lamb more valuable than Justin Jefferson? And Jack thinks that Justin Jefferson is in that little small group of the best wide receivers. He doesn't think CeeDee Lamb is, despite him breaking all of Dallas records in the first 4 years. But the point I was making to him, and I see what you guys thought, CeeDee Lamb is more important because the Cowboys are a championship team, right? I mean, Justin Jefferson, who knows if the Minnesota Vikings even make the playoffs this year. Dallas is definitely in play to make a Super Bowl run. Without CeeDee Lamb, I mean, their odds get a little bit worse, guys. And, James, you're shaking your head. How can you say CeeDee Lamb isn't among the best receivers in the league? That makes no sense to me at all.
I don't know. You guys did your show in the morning. I don't know what Jack had in his coffee, but it must have been something with a little vodka going with the coffee or something. Because there's no way you can say CeeDee Lamb is not in the upper echelon of receivers. I mean, if you don't like Dallas Cowboys, just say that. But I'm all about talent, and I see the guy on the field, and he's one of the best, if not the top 3 receivers in the game today, right now. That's playing. And looking at what Justin Jefferson has done by getting paid $35 million a year, he just set the precedence for everybody else, the dominoes to fall. Yeah. He's going to get paid. He's going to get paid probably $1 million more, to maybe $36 million a year. He's just in that range. So you just can't not pay him. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, because he's projected to get $17 million this year, and that's going to double. I mean, 17.5, and that's going to double just simply off the contract that he'll get. And it's crazy because what is it, $4,120,000 or something like that? For
Justin.
This is all status symbol now, right? I mean, I got to get to the next.
Not even talking about the endorsements.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which he's already on.
Right.
Yeah,
do you still consider Dallas a championship team?
I'm sorry, you shaking your head, CJ.
I'm sorry, I don't. And the thing is, look, this is like saying the Jets are a championship team. This is like saying the Patriots are a championship team. This is like saying the Panthers are a championship team. Sorry, Sonia. But you want to know something? Okay. I'm so absolutely sick and tired of people sitting here. Dallas, this is our year. Dallas, this is our year. How about get out of the first round of the playoffs first? How about you shut your goddamn mouth?
They're in the wild card.
I saw an F-bomb.
Let your players do the talking.
CJ, you can tell you what, Dallas has been 12-5 the past 3 years. I mean, they have one of the
show for it, Matt.
But how many rings does any team have to show for it, CJ?
12-5 is just 12-5.
Well, how many NFC teams have won the Super Bowl in the past 3 or 4 years?
I think the Cowboys just got their newest biggest hater, and it's CJ is leading us the club. I love it. A Jets fan.
I know.
It says right in our promo, I do not like the Dallas Cowboys. The point being, though, is they have been 12-5. And if you can name me 6 teams better than the Cowboys right now, CJ, I'll give you a $10 bill. Who's better than the Cowboys right now? I mean, the Eagles, San Francisco, Detroit.
End of my light work. Come on now.
San Francisco, Baltimore.
Why? Why?
Going to NFC,
Why?
They didn't win a
NFC.
Super Bowl either.
Even Tampa Bay. No,
And-
I'm not
Nobody's
talking about
any
the
good
regular
except the
season
Chiefs.
ranking.
And first of all, Sonia, we're talking about NFC. Name me 5 or 6 teams.
Oh, in the NFC? Oh, I thought you were speaking of as whole. You weren't clear, so I was about to name them
I
out.
think
for you.
they're in the top 3 in the NFC.
Yeah, you won't be. I can't name 6 in the NFC.
Thank you.
But collectively,
So,
yes.
You got to win the NFC. You got to win the NFC before you go to Super Bowl, right? So that's all I'm saying. I mean, you could hate on them all you want. Point being is they're a really good team that for some reason can't get past that last thing. You could say San Francisco can't win the big one either. They've been there too. They've been a championship. They've been a Super Bowl. Haven't been able to win it either. So I mean, if you're going to just talk about winning the Super Bowl, there's not too many teams that have done that from the NFC lately. But anyway,
Dallas has talented players on their team. Let me be straight, because I don't like the Cowboys either. I don't have as strong of a disdain as most people, but I do not care for their fan base because they are obnoxious. Every year is their year since I got out of high school, and I think that's the last time they got a ring also. But no shade, because a lot of my family and friends they have a lot of talented players, but they are not America's team. Someone once said a Dallas loss is an American win. So that's what I'm going to leave it with. We all win when Dallas loses.
That's why they're America's team. People love them or hate them. That's why you're America's team. That's the whole idea.
That star they have is their rating. That one star is their rating.
See, people misunderstand. People misunderstand. Like America's team doesn't mean America loves the Cowboys. America's team means more people love and hate the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And that's real answer.
Yeah.
I listen. I'm no big Cowboy. I've hated the Cowboys since the early '70s when they used to beat the Giants, but all the time. But you speak of their fan base being a little bit obnoxious. There's a lot of those. If you have a fan base, Sonia, if you sell tickets to your team, you might have
wait a minute. There are shots fired across here. I know you're not coming to the defense of no daggone Cowgirls, Mac, and y'all in the same division.
I'm not. I'm saying that
everyone's face saw the shot. I'm dodging a bullet over here.
Yeah, you are dodging bullets.
I'm just saying, some teams can't put 10,000 people in their stadium. That's all.
CJ, please, James, somebody get mad.
Oh man,
that's all I'm saying.
Come on.
Anyway. So speaking of the Jets, let's talk about the Jets.
Don't cry. They're going to give him 10.
Haason Reddick is not reporting for OTAs. He's upset that he didn't get his extension from the Jets. He's making $14.25 million this last year. So he wanted to get signed. He didn't get signed. He could upgrade the Jets defense somewhat. They already got a great defense, but he would be a nice piece there. CJ, again, me and Jack talk about this and we say, here's a player that, you're in your last year of your contract, play your last year of contract. We'll talk to you during the year. I don't get the players right now, right? I mean, you still got a year left. The Jets took on that contract. And another disparaging thing is that Saleh has not spoken to him. Now, that's kind of crazy to me. I mean, here's a player that's coming over and you're not even talking to him. When a reporter asked about him, he said, go talk, to Joe Douglas. None of this makes sense to me, CJ.
Okay, well, in regards to Saleh's comments as far as Haason Reddick, okay, Saleh was being asked to comment on Haason Reddick's contract information. He was being baited into that question, and he did the same thing that any other head coach would do. I don't handle contract issues. You got to talk to the GM about that, and that's exactly what he did. Now, as far as Haason Reddick showing up to OTAs are concerned, I really could care less. I really don't. Okay, Now, as far as him, now if it comes training camp and we're in mandatory camp and he starts holding out, and now we've already played a preseason game and he's still not there and he's still not getting reps in and he's holding out because of contract, then if I'm Joe Douglas, I have a conversation with him. You're in the last year of your deal. Either come in and play or we could trade you. Because the same way that we acquired you is the same way we can get rid of you. Now, yes, does he make the Jets defense better than it already is? Absolutely. But you want to know something? Joe Douglas is also a smart enough man that he's not gonna put up with a headache. Okay? So if this guy's gonna be exactly that, if he's gonna be the definition of a headache, Joe Douglas will trade him for a 5th round pick or whatever he can flip him to so he can become somebody else's problem.
All right. Okay. All right. So there you go. So CJ wrapped that up and clearly spoken and clearly thought out this time, CJ. I'm good job. So anyway, when I look at Dallas, and we just mentioned Dallas, there was one offensive guard that was great that played for him the Emmitt Smith days and blocked for Troy Aikman, and of course. That guard was Larry Allen, who passed away at 52 years old. If you do follow offensive line, and I do, and you think about one of the greatest of all time at a position, Larry Allen was one of those players. They could use somebody like him right now on the Dallas offensive line for sure. So condolences to his family. Lost a great offensive lineman and a pretty good human being too, as from what I've heard him speak before in the past. So anyway, condolences to his family. Let's talk a little bit about. Well, I don't want to talk about the Giants. We got rid of Waller. It looks like hopefully, and then he can go off and sing somewhere and do whatever he's got to do. No real Patriot news in the sports news. Keith, it's pretty quiet over there. Anything that you heard? Anything that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, there's not a lot of news coming out. A little bit of Drake May news, but only more putting the foot on the brake a little bit as far as Drake May goes. People felt he wasn't terribly impressive in the Patriots OTAs, but again, you're just out there in shorts and a helmet. We'll worry about it when training camp comes along. So not much going on really.
And in Carolina, really, what it's about right now is they're really getting into there's some training camps that went to mandatory mini camps like in Dallas, and of course, CeeDee Lamb did show up. But many is the signing of the new players. I think the Saints signed their big offensive tackle rather, and that's primarily what's going on there. So,
big question, and Flo put up there. Big question mark about Drake May. I'm not sold. I wasn't sold during the draft, as most of you know, and I will be sold when I see him play and start putting some points on the board. So a big question mark for me.
Yeah, well, you got a pretty good quarterback room, I think, with Brissett, Zappe, the guy with the canning, and Drake May. Hopefully, they all can work out the issues there, and Drake May gets at least a start by his 3rd year. We'll see what happens over there anyway. So,
did you see Christian McCaffrey got his big sign off today?
Yeah, go ahead, Sonia, break it. I was just going to talk about it. Yes.
Heartbreaking that it's not with the Panthers, but I think it's $38 million through 2027 with the 49ers. Kudos to Christian, definitely one of my always Panthers, but definitely he deserves it. He carried that team, and made Mr. Irrelevant very relevant throughout the playoffs and throughout the season. So kudos to him. Sorry to break it, but I just didn't know if you had it. Man.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Any of you can break anything you want, except anything in my house. The key here to me is that Christian McCaffrey, is there a better back in the league? I mean, he gets this money. He stayed pretty injury-free last year, and that was the biggest knock against him. I mean, when he touches the ball, he seems to be able to score from anywhere on the field. I mean, he's truly one of the best backs in the league, if not the best. So, if there's a running back out there worth that money, McCaffrey is. So.
And this is the first year. Now that you speak of that, this is the first year. You guys can fact check this. That Christian McCaffrey has gone the whole season injury free. There is a reason for that. He was injured every freaking season with the Panthers because the Panthers relied on him so much because of the horrible O-line that he literally carried the team
Thank
on
you.
his back. And it wore him down to the point that he physically could not contend anymore as part of the team. He was injured every season. Every season it was something, hamstring, everything. And so to see him get with the team and not only flourish, but to stay injury free is a big thing for me. And I, at the end of the day, I just care about players' safety across the board, no matter where they're playing. And so now he's getting the coins. So congratulations. But yeah, it just like really hit me that, wait a minute, he was never injured. This is the first season you don't see him on the IR. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he did play through a little bit of injury. I know he was hurting there a couple of times, but he played through it. And when you got different weapons, you can come away from you come away from McCaffrey. You can throw the ball, or you could run Debo or whatever. So they have other options. Just it's when you depend on a player like the Giants did with Saquon. Saquon's going to be in a better position, not just because he's got a great offensive line, a better offensive line than he ran with. There's other options there besides Saquon Barkley, instead of him being your star, catch the ball, star, run the ball, star everything. They're not just gonna key on this guy. So this is what makes the Jets a little bit more harder to defend. They got Bryce Hall, they've got Wilson, they've got these receivers and stuff like that. And when you get to that point, a lot of players won't get as injured like they did in the past on your team anyway. So so that's pretty much it. So let's talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about Caitlin Clark, and it seems like she's in the news all the time now. There's, you have fans and you have the other people saying they're playing too hard against her. They're playing her more physical than the other players in the league. Jack is no longer watching the WNBA. He thinks that the WNBA players, they're all jealous and they're just mad at her and they're doing stuff on purpose, knocking her down from behind. I point out that happens in the NBA all the time. Players get knocked down physical. When you have a great player on the other team, you try to kind of get in the other player's head. And if they're not strong enough mentally or physically to overcome that, it causes them to play it bad that game. To me, that's what they're doing right now. If I'm the coach on another team, James, and they star player, I know I can get in their head by kind of messing with them, by bumping them and follow them a little harder than maybe I should, and that causes them to play better. I'm going to do that, right?
Man, why is Jack so crotchety?
I
Met Jack?
I love Jack.
Have you met Jack?
It's hilarious. Everything you see, I'm going against it. I'm going to say, look, this is the biggest example of how it happened and the direction it went. Michael Jordan, the Jordan rules against the bad boy Pistons. Man, everybody got beat up back then. And it's particularly Jordan. And Jordan was the guy that made all the money for everybody. And you had like Thomas, he can't come out later and said, thank you. This guy made us a lot of money. We weren't making that kind of money before until he came into the league and brought to the forefront. I'm not saying Caitlin is the next savior, but what I am going to say is bad publicity, good publicity, it doesn't matter. People are going to start watching now, especially with all this stuff going on and everything like that. They're fussing about it. It's bringing traction. They're still going to watch. I mean, and she's a draw. It's just what it is. And it's going to bring eyes to everyone else as well that are there. And then also, let's not forget about Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso, all these other people that are in there that got drafted. These are some stars that came in too as well that battled with her in college. So they're going to see them also play against her as well, because they're just as good, if not better, not particularly at the shot, but again, just very good players that are going to, the stars, these are stars, potential stars in this league to come in and draw attention as well. I don't think it's as bad as everybody's making it out to be. I think it's definitely needs jiu-jitsu the next. She even said it wasn't a basketball play, but she's going to move on and play the game. She understands the game. Like you said, it happens in the NBA as well. It's just what it is. I think it's going to go in a good trajectory. It's going to bring more revenue and more viewership to their league.
I have one issue, and it's not with any of
You
that.
know,
My issue is with her teammates. Why are her teammates not coming to her defense?
Yes.
I played sports when I was younger and able to. I would always go to my teammates' defense, and they would come to mine. What is going on with her teammates? That to me
They
is
say she has like a nasty disposition, and that's why nobody's doing it.
well.
Doesn't
Then
matter. It's your teammate.
Yeah,
Michael
I know.
Jordan had a nasty disposition. He
Yeah.
punched his teammates. He
Yeah,
punched one of his teammates in the face. Kerr.
I mean,
You-
even
but
Draymond's folks
you
be
gotta have her
defending
back.
him, so he beats up everybody. So
You got.
I
You gotta be an enforcer, right? Exactly. You gotta have an enforcer. Who was it? Charles Oakley was Jordan's when he first came in the league. He was his enforcer. You gotta have somebody that say, no, I don't care whether we get into it behind the scenes or not. I'm gonna have your back. I'm gonna fight
protect
for
your
you.
house. That's right.
doesn't
Protect your house.
100%.
You know, CJ, it wouldn't be a bad idea in the off season for her to get in the gym and start lifting a little bit too. So she's a little bit more, a little bit more stronger too. She can go to the hoop a little bit better. Definitely, teammates should be stepping up. That's part of being a team, right? You all forgot you forgot about Draymond Green with the two. Their two outside guards shooting there. He's not going to let them hammer Steph or even Clay for that matter. So anyway, if it's your team, your quarterback, your whatever it is, it's your best player in the team. You're not going to let them get beat up. So that's
I
just
don't need
that makes.
somebody help her off the floor for crying out loud.
Yeah, they run down the court, leave her there. But anyway, Keith, they got to continue to play. Come on. Anyway, Ralph, how you doing today? So a lot of people are making a lot of comments. Thanks for that. We encourage that. We got punks. We got oh my God, everybody's.
What?
I guess after they heard CJ's rant, they were like, we can say everything now. PG is out the window. YouTube is going to take us down.
We're at mature ratings, so but still keeping this close to the.
Listen,
best.
if they haven't taken me down, they're not taking us down.
Oh,
And
yeah,
y'all
right.
already know I turn the airwaves blue when I take the microphone talking about the New York Jets. So
I've seen that.
Yes.
I can attest.
Yes, it's very entertaining. It really is.
We thought he was preaching until the profanity came out. And then you're like,
right,
wait a minute.
right.
He's not
So
preaching.
there we go. Carl is just. Now we're trying to stay away from the Jets.
Carl is just a much maligned Bears fan. That poor man, he's suffered just as much as I have. So you know what?
Yes.
I feel bad for him. I really do.
So there's really not much to say. I mean, we got the NBA playoffs coming up, and I want to get into that a little bit with you all. A lot of good stories in there. You got the Celtics who haven't won a championship a long time. You have former players playing on on the opposite teams. Porzingis was with Dallas. Kyrie was with the Celtics. There's one thing I want to talk about Porzingis, and tell me if this makes sense to you. He still doesn't know if he's 100%. The Celtics are winning right now without him. Do you play the guy? I mean, do you kind of hold him back? And you got to be a little bit risky right now. Dallas is, if he gets on the floor, they're going to attack him. They're going to go right at him. They're going to try and be physical with Porzingis. I mean, right now everything's clicking. What do you do as you're the coach? Do you play him? Do you sit him? Do you bring him in gradually? I think the third choice is probably the best. But Keith, I mean, he's a great player. He's a very, I'm not going to say he's great. He's a very good player who can get your rebounds, can be under the hoop, has a nice outside shot. But right now, Boston has chemistry and they're winning. What would you do?
I would play him, but I'd pick my spots, as you kind of said. Option number 3. Maybe I'm not going to give him major minutes till I find out how healthy he is and get that cohesiveness back. But he played all year pretty much, and for him, injury free, I guess. And they played very well as a team with him there. So I don't think you're really throwing off their chemistry that much by putting him back in the lineup. But I would pick my spots with him just to keep him healthy, because to me, I'll be quite honest with you, I think he potentially could be an X factor in the series for the Celtics if he's healthy.
It's possible.
He stole my thunder. I said the exact same thing, and I said the exact same thing. He's an X factor.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, he against Dallas this year, 24 points per game against Dallas, 50% from three and 57% from field goal range. I mean, he's definitely an X factor. And they're going to need him because he's 7'2". They got three bigs in there at the trade deadline, and that's what got Dallas to where they are now. Having those bigs that made the big difference in this last series. Gafford and Derek Lively and PJ Washington played really great D, and so and gave you points when you needed them. And so the two guys in Doncic and Kyrie Irving, man, they're the stars, but and they match up well offensively against the other two guys. And we're talking Brown and Tatum, but the benches were the question marks. And like Keith said, the X factor.
Yeah.
And I would take him at 70%. If he's at 70%, you got to play him. I mean, because he. Sorry, go ahead.
Let's talk about Dallas for a minute. There's one thing for sure that I know. I've been watching Kyrie through his whole ups and downs. Last few years, more downs than ups. He's a great player. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's not a leader. He's a number two guy. He plays off the leader well. He played off LeBron James well when they won the championship. He's playing off Doncic well right now, and we didn't even know if that would work. It has worked finally, and it's finally showing something. Kyrie, I think, has finally accepted that he's not the number one guy as he thought he was in Dallas and with the Nets. And I think that's what makes Dallas such a hard team to beat, even for the Celtics.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just literally thinking that about Kyrie. He's always had this big persona that for such a long time, it was, in my opinion, just the him persona. We saw it magnified, unfortunately, during a very crucial time for our country with the pandemic, when he made such a stink on whether or not he's not going to get the vaccine. And because the Nets made the executive decision, to take the vaccine as a team, he, couldn't play basically. And, that's his choice, but he made it was such a magnified moment to me, that it just kind of like really still leaves a sting, for some basketball fans, including myself. Like, you cannot think of that time without thinking of that. And so now he's with Luka Doncic, and he is a number two guy. I don't know if it's because he's unable to perform in a solo environment where he could be number one, or that his personality has caused him to basically be a backup to the number one. And so, because, I always talk about personal and professional. And when people's personalities or personal traits or what have you, dramas and whatever, bleed over into their professional, arena, which is, sports, they're athletes, they're paid to do this. This is their profession. Their performances suffer. It's the 3 Ps. It's the personal, the professional, and the performance. And I think that this is a key example of he was his own enemy, and it allowed him, or not allowed him, it brought him down a notch because of his personality. It bled over to his performance, and now we see that he has to settle for this second in command because of his own issues.
Well, CJ, let's not get it twisted. I'm not talking about talent-wise, because talent-wise, he's a number one A. It's just the pecking order on that. There's a pecking order on that team, and right now, Doncic is the leader of that team. And again, I don't know where the series is going to go. I think it might even go 7 games, at least 6. And I think it's going to be a battle. I'm definitely not counting Dallas out.
Well, look, as long as it's a better series than the Boston Pacers series, because that was just a complete snooze fest. Okay, that reminded me a little bit of the Rangers-Panthers series, where the Pacers had opportunities to steal games from Boston, and they did not take advantage of them. So you know what? Just give us all a good series that we can watch. Whether it goes 6 games, whether it goes 7 games, who cares? Give us a good series that's going to be entertaining, that basketball fans around the world are going to enjoy. they're going to relish in it. They're going to watch it, regardless whether or not you have a dog in the fight or not.
You're right. Keith, what's going on in France with basketball right now? I mean, France, you got Wembanyama last year was the #1 pick. Now you got a guy named Alexander Starr that's projected to go #1. He's got a guy right behind him, Zachary Rissace, #2. And then you got Tejon Salone that might be going as high as #10. I mean, does this just show that maybe college basketball, with the way it's being played right now, with the one and dones, the two and dones, is just not working for the NBA? And that over in France, where it's more professional, more competitive, more like the NBA, that teams are going to start looking more overseas than they did before.
Well, it's not like the overseas players are new. I mean, Tony Parker and, there's Dirk. There's tons of great players that have come from overseas in years past. France, maybe not so much. I mean, the Knicks were way ahead of the curve when they were drafting Frederick Weiss and all these guys who couldn't play from France. So maybe the Knicks should have waited a couple decades before they took somebody from France. But they're more seasoned over there because they play as professionals, as kids, basically, and so they come into the NBA more ready to play, I think, maybe than some of the kids out of college. But again, the college game is the college game, and I don't think it hurts the college game. The kids are going to get jobs if they're any good. And I think these things run in cycles too, and this isn't new. As I said, I guess I thought I could list about 20 guys pretty quickly. I probably could if I thought a little more about it, but it seems like every team in the 90s had a bunch of European stars, for crying out loud. So I think they're just more mature and ready to play at that point. Doesn't mean the college kids will be eliminated.
All right. So let's turn to gymnastics. We really don't talk about gymnastics much, and the men's gymnastics. Nobody
CJ
talks about
earlier. What are you talking about?
Well, nobody really
it's my
talks
favorite.
about the male, but in female gymnastics, and I want to make this point for a bigger point that's within this small point, right? Simone Biles wins her 9th United States championship, the greatest female gymnast of all time. There's no doubt about it anymore. But she's older now. I think she's 27 or I don't know if it's even that old, but she's a lot older. Normally, 13 years old, you're done. You come out, you go to gym, you're done. Not anymore. And it seems like this is the way it is in all sports now. Boxing, football, baseball. You have people sticking around a lot longer than you did before. Maybe it's nutrition. Maybe it's just the attitudes have changed.
Money.
Money.
Well, money's a big one. Money is a good, that's a good reason too. I mean, to make that pay. But anyway, it just seems to me that everybody is getting up in age and still competing at high levels. Not the people that stay around and they kind of fall off. And this is just another example of that. I mean, what do you think, James? I mean, what's causing this? He says you're getting paid more, you're getting the endorsements. I get it, but still, you still got to maintain that kind of edge, that kind of competitiveness, that type of emotional and physical attitude to be playing any sport at a high level, at the highest level, really.
Sports science is one. I would say that sports science has drastically changed from when players were playing back in the day, and the way they do things, how they take care of their bodies in recovery. I mean, it's important. A lot of people didn't really realize that. I mean, LeBron James himself, for example, spends over $1 million a year in just his body, taking care of his body alone. So, I mean, he can afford it, of course. But, I mean, yes, how do you think somebody outside of the question marks of performance-enhancing drugs, not blaming anybody for that or saying that's the case, but taking care of yourself, it increases longevity outside of what you just said, Mac, and will and determination. I think a lot of people have will and determination, but the body sometimes just says, you know what, I just can't do it anymore. You have this willpower to say, I want to do this, and I believe it in my mind and heart to do it, but the body fails you sometimes. some of these guys just have better nutrition, better sports science to help them continue to go along with that drive.
Yeah, Sonia, the turnover rate.
Huh?
That's the truth. Since beer and cigars Babe Ruth used to use, we have come a long way. Sonia, I mean, the turnaround in injuries, how fast they get you back on the field, your rehabilitation. I mean, that's, Tommy John surgery at one time was like, well, is this going to work? Now, almost all the baseball players with bad arms are using it, and it's probably better than it was the original. So, you get a major joint or a pull or a muscle rupture or whatever. The sports medicine, as James said, but even the operations are a lot better now too.
The operations are certainly a lot better, and I actually can attest to that because I had reconstructive shoulder surgery on my right arm, and the doctor that did it is the sports medicine doctor for UGA, where he does a lot of surgeries for athletes and baseball team and everybody. And the key is they use robots to go in now. They just dial it in, and that way there's less injury, because the injury and the recovery is from the in and out of the needle, the in and out of the doctor. But when you put the robot in there, just the arm of the robot, and you're just doing everything, you're in one time and you're out, and that's it. And the recovery is a lot better. And like I said, technology has come a long way. So that's how they're able to do this. And then let's be clear, not just about me, but these athletes have even better options because of the money they're afforded to have the physical therapy right away and to just better acclimate. And at the end of the day, it does come back down to your diet. How you've treated your body before you have an injury aids in the recovery.
So we're at the top of the hour, but we're going to go just a little bit longer because CJ hasn't talked about his NHL. Okay, Keith says I'm only under contract for 1 hour max. So
you didn't get an hour out of Keith. He got here 15 minutes later.
All right, Keith, you have a good one, buddy.
Bye, Keith.
Keith Angle from DGI Sports. So CJ, we'll run a little bit longer here. NHL, you got the Panthers, the Edmonton Oilers, Florida physical team. Edmonton, I don't know if they're physical or they're more just a fluent kind of offense, a little different than the Panthers. I mean, what are your thoughts about this upcoming Stanley Cup playoffs?
I think this is definitely going to be a good matchup. I mean, I had originally at the beginning of the Stanley Cup playoff had my dream matchup of the Rangers versus the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers held up their end of the bargain. Unfortunately, the New York Rangers did not. But the Edmonton Oilers are getting a very formidable appointment in the defending Eastern Conference champion Florida Panthers. They're a grinded out, designed to win 2-1 hockey team. And they can beat you in so many different ways. Plus, on top of it, you got a two-time Vezina winner in Sergei Bobrovsky between the pipes, going against Stuart Skinner, who has, believe it or not, has held his own against a couple of Vezina winners throughout these playoff series that they've had to endure with. And every time you think Edmonton's out, they always find a way to come back. And I was actually shocked the way that they dispatched of Dallas, because Dallas is also a very physical team. They're also designed to grind it out and beat you 2-1 and stuff like that because of the way that they're built. So I think it's still going to be a very interesting test for Edmonton. I think Florida wants that Stanley Cup. They felt like they should have had it last year. Unfortunately, Vegas got the better of them. So now they're back to try to get redemption. So, this is definitely going to be there's going to be a lot of interesting storylines going into the Stanley Cup final. And it should be a lot of fun regardless whether or not you're fans of these two teams or not.
All right, yeah.
Go Panthers.
It's been a long time since the Canadian team has won.
Go Oilers.
Has won the Stanley Cup, CJ. I mean, I think you go back was it Edmonton or was it the Canadians? I'm not sure who won it last for Canada, but it's been since the 19-something or others, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I believe the last team to win the Stanley Cup was the Canadiens for Canada. So this is Canada's best bet to take the cup home. So time for them to step up.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Thanks for all the comments and the shares and the likes and the loves. We love doing this show every Wednesday night for you. We do have another show, an old show of mine, that used to be on the network will be coming up soon, maybe back as soon as next week. We'll see what happens with that. Just adding more shows to our network. That'll put us up over 70 shows, guys. And, a lot of sports for you guys out there. So tell your friends about it. Tell your friends about the Roku channel and National Streaming Sports. It's easy to do. And, come and join us. So anyway, folks, have a great day. Stay with Roku. We got a lot of shows coming up, including Sonia might even make an appearance later on tonight. We'll see. I mean, it's we don't know. We're not sure which show.
Prim and Proper at 9.
Okay,
Jim
Prim and
Berringer,
Proper.
NHL
Okay,
Sports.
all right. So it is Prim and Proper.
Stanley Cup.
It's not all things of football. It's not one of the other shows she has in her back pocket there. So Prim and Proper up later on at 9. So be sure to stay with us and watch her then. Folks, have a great Wednesday. We'll see you real soon.
See ya.